The leopard, solitary, nearly silent, strong enough to kill prey twice its size and drag the body up a tree to keep it from lions. It can leap over 6 meters horizontally from a standing start, see 6 times better than a human in the dark, and deliver a single bite to the back of the skull precise enough to end most fights before they begin. By every measure biologists use, it is one of the most efficient killing machines in Africa, and it backs away from baboons. Not occasionally, not one lucky video from one safari in one country. Researchers in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Kenya have documented the same pattern for decades. When a leopard's ambush on a baboon troop goes wrong, the troop doesn't scatter and run. It turns around, and sometimes the leopard is the one that doesn't walk away. The obvious explanation is numbers. 50 baboons against 1 leopard sounds like simple math. Overwhelm the predator, and it has no choice but to retreat. There's some truth in that, but numbers alone don't explain why a leopard, an animal capable of killing an adult baboon in a single bite to the skull, chooses retreat over a fight it could plausibly win one-on-one. Wolves outnumber a single wolverine too, and the wolverine still keeps the kill. A pack of hyenas can outnumber a lone lioness and still lose the argument over a carcass. Numbers change the odds. They don't automatically decide the outcome. Something else has to make the math actually work against the leopard specifically. The real explanation starts with what a male baboon actually is, physically. An adult male Chacma baboon can weigh up to 90 pounds, with canine teeth reaching nearly 4 centimeters, close to the length of the leopard's own canines, and long enough to punch clean through muscle in a single bite. That's not a defensive adaptation. Baboon canines evolved primarily for fights within the troop, for dominance battles between males competing to lead. The leopard isn't facing an animal built to run from danger. It's facing an animal built, tooth for tooth, for exactly the kind of violence the leopard is bringing. But the troop isn't just waiting to react. It's built to see the leopard coming. Baboon troops post sentries, typically dominant males stationed at the edges of the group while the rest forage, and the troop maintains a specific alarm call reserved only for leopards, distinct from the calls used for eagles or snakes. Every member of the group knows exactly what kind of threat has been spotted and how to respond to it before the predator is anywhere close to striking distance. Vervet monkeys, a smaller relative studied extensively by primatologists, were the species that first proved this kind of predator-specific vocabulary exists in the wild. Baboons carry the same system, refined by a body large enough to actually do something about the threat once it's been named. Multiply that alarm system by a troop with muscle behind it. A single Chacma troop can include half a dozen adult males, each carrying that weaponry, bonded into loose alliances that activate the instant a threat appears. This isn't only about protecting the group as an abstract idea. Male baboons within a troop compete constantly for rank and mating access, but that rivalry mostly switches off the second an external predator appears. Protecting the troop protects a male's own mates and offspring specifically, which means the coalition that forms against a leopard isn't charity between rivals. It's every male independently deciding that this particular fight is worth the risk, for reasons that all point the same direction at once. This is the part that breaks a leopard's usual strategy. A leopard hunts through ambush and isolation, singling out one animal, usually the young, the old, or the distracted, and finishing the job before the rest of the group can react. Against almost every prey species in Africa, that window is enough. Against baboons, it isn't, because baboon males don't scatter when one of their own is grabbed. They converge. In August 2023, in South Africa's Kruger area, a young male leopard tried exactly this. It closed in on a troop of Chacma baboons moving through the bush in broad daylight, aiming for a straggler near the back of the group. For a moment, it looked like a routine kill, the kind that plays out across the African bush every day without anyone watching. Within seconds, the troop didn't flee. One of the largest males in the group charged straight at the leopard, and within moments the rest of the troop reversed direction entirely and swarmed it, biting, pulling, screeching, forcing it to release its grip. Witnesses in nearby vehicles described a chaos of slashing claws and snapping jaws, the leopard barely visible underneath the pile of enraged baboons surrounding it. The leopard fought back for several tense seconds before the baboons briefly cleared space, giving it a narrow opening to escape. Tourists who filmed the encounter described the leopard as, in their words, running into serious trouble the moment it attacked in daylight, in front of the entire troop. That case ended with the leopard escaping, bruised but alive. Not every case does. According to accounts from wildlife guides working in the Zambezi region, one encounter reportedly went further. A female leopard, stalking a baboon troop strung out in a line through Mopane woodland, isolated a young baboon at the rear and killed it. Within moments, the entire troop, reportedly around 30 animals, converged on her position, the noise loud enough to be heard well before the vehicle carrying observers rounded the corner to see what was happening. Guides who witnessed it described the leopard as completely overwhelmed, buried at the bottom of a pile of enraged baboons for an extended period, while the troop continued to harass her, unwilling to let the incident end with her simply walking away. When she was finally left alone, she lay motionless in the grass, clearly injured. She survived, but badly enough hurt that her ability to hunt and support her own cubs afterward was seriously in question. Researchers studying baboon and leopard interactions across the continent note that leopard fatalities at the hands of baboon troops have been recorded multiple times, not as isolated freak accidents, but as a recognized, repeating outcome of daylight confrontations. This is where the story stops being about defense and becomes something closer to what researchers are still trying to fully explain. Baboon troops don't only fight back when attacked. In documented cases across their range, Chacma baboons have grabbed and killed leopard cubs found unattended in a den while the mother was away hunting, and on rare occasions, even lion cubs left similarly exposed. It's a kind of preemptive retaliation that most prey species never attempt, deliberately seeking out and eliminating the next generation of an animal that regularly kills members of the troop. Researchers who study this behavior describe it less as opportunistic cruelty and more as a long-term strategy. Every leopard cub a troop eliminates today is one fewer adult leopard hunting baboons a few years from now. Whether individual baboons understand that connection or are simply acting on inherited aggression toward anything smelling of leopard, the population-level effect is the same either way. One long-term study group in South Africa's Soutpansberg Mountains, tracked for years by researchers as part of a primate and predator research project, has been recorded acting aggressively toward leopards on multiple occasions, mobbing crowned eagles out of their territory, and, in one documented case, preying on rock python eggs found within the troop's range, the first time that behavior had ever been formally recorded in baboons. The same troop, across multiple different predator types: land, air, and reptile. Researchers publishing on this specific group directly implicated it in aggressive encounters against nearly every major predator sharing their mountain range. That's not a single lucky defense. That's a pattern of an animal that has, in a very real sense, stopped behaving like standard prey. So why does the leopard, an animal with every physical advantage in a one-on-one fight, keep losing this calculation? The answer comes back to the same math that governs every solitary predator on the planet. A leopard's entire survival strategy depends on its body staying functional. It needs full use of its claws, its jaw, its legs, and its eyes to hunt successfully night after night. A single serious injury, a torn tendon, a damaged eye, a deep bite to the shoulder, can be the difference between a leopard that eats next week and one that slowly starves to death over the following months, unable to sprint, unable to climb, unable to compete with hyenas for scraps. Baboon males know, through instinct shaped by millions of years of exactly this conflict, that the cost of losing a fight to a leopard is a dead troop member. But the cost to the leopard of losing a fight to 30 screaming 4-centimeter canined baboons is potentially its entire future ability to hunt at all. One side is risking a meal, the other is risking everything. That imbalance is why leopards that hunt baboons successfully overwhelmingly do it under cover of darkness, singling out an individual sleeping alone or separated from the group in a cliffside roost, striking fast and disappearing before the troop can organize a response. Baboons sleep in trees or on rock ledges specifically because it's harder for a leopard to approach unnoticed. But a leopard patient enough to wait for one animal to drift toward the edge of the group can still find an opening in the dark that daylight would never allow. It's a strategy built entirely around avoiding the daylight scenario, where numbers, canines, and coordinated aggression turn the tables completely. The leopard isn't afraid of baboons the way a gazelle is afraid of a cheetah. It has simply learned, through repeated and sometimes fatal experience passed down across generations of leopards in baboon territory, that a fair fight against an organized, awake troop is a fight it is statistically not supposed to win. This dynamic doesn't just decide the outcome of individual encounters, it shapes where leopards choose to hunt at all. Researchers using camera traps across leopard range have noted individual leopards adjusting their movement patterns around the known locations of large, stable baboon troops, avoiding open daylight travel through areas where a troop is likely to be alert, gathered, and ready. A single troop, simply by existing and being willing to fight, can functionally push a leopard's hunting schedule into narrower windows and quieter corners of a shared landscape. The same kind of outsized influence a lone wolverine exerts over an entire wolf pack's territory. The baboon didn't get here through size or speed. It got here through something a wolverine achieves alone and a crow achieves through numbers and memory, a social structure that makes the true cost of attacking it far higher than it appears from a distance. A single baboon is prey, easy, small, and outmatched by almost anything that wants it dead. A troop, in daylight, with its males ready and its cubs already a target the leopard has to worry about, is something else entirely. An animal that has quietly rewritten the rules for one of Africa's most efficient predators, without ever needing to be bigger, faster, or stronger than the leopard itself. What makes this stranger than the wolverine or the crow is that the baboon isn't a specialist built for exactly one kind of confrontation. It's a generalist that happens to be armed like a predator, organized like an army, and vindictive enough to hold a grudge against an entire species. The leopard doesn't lose to baboons because it's weak. It loses because somewhere in its evolutionary history, it started hunting a prey animal that eventually decided to stop only playing defense. And leopards aren't the only predator that has learned this lesson the hard way. The same troops that fight off leopards in broad daylight have been documented mobbing crowned eagles out of the sky and preying on the eggs of the same pythons that hunt in their territory. That's next.